This is probably it for the day, but I thought here were some things that are important to share because we talk about density consciousness and what's called vibration perception, and there's a couple things that are directly linked to that. When I grew up as a child, for example, we learned about the golden rule: do unto others as you would want them to do unto you. That can be explained in a bidirectional holographic universe by what I do to you, I do to me, which essentially means if I am broadcasting a lower frequency to you by the way that I communicate to you, that is lower in density consciousness than what you are, then you're going to experience the energy that I just used to communicate to you with, and that's going to cancel out your waveform, and then you're going to experience my lower density consciousness waveform vibration perception. Because the energy that I use to perceive my universe with, okay, is lower than yours. So if it's lower than yours, you're now perceiving the cosmos through the way in which I perceive my cosmos, which is a lower frequency vibration than what yours is. Okay, now that's called bandwidth. What we used to call when I was a child, bandwidth perception. So I thought, okay, so let's start with 0 point. We're back to Wim Hof, right? Why he was attracted and thought through cold water he was going to learn about 0 point consciousness. Now he's able to control all of the chromosomal functions that exist within the DNA in order which to essentially reprogram, or it's like having access, you're the programmer of the software. So the DNA is the software, which represents all of the functions that exist within the DNA. And since that DNA has 0 point connection, which means you're connected with the source from which everything comes geometrically, holographically, in which it unfolds geometrically in perception. Okay? In order to expand the universe, you got to find more space in which to do it, right? Well, how are you going to do that? You got to know something about geometry, right? Okay? And something about how a vortex works with a spiral. So when you examine your heart, for example, and you see it through the schematics I used to put up, you begin to realize, my God, that's a torus field, a toroidal, like a hurricane or a tornado. Go look at the spin of the Milky Way galaxy. Galactic sun in the middle. A galactic sunbeam. That's a sunbeam. Or up there. So if we start with I am aware, okay, how do we expand the universe of what we're aware of? Bandwidth perception. Depth perception. The depth of perception. How much are you aware of? Well, it's infinite. I can't put all that information in my head and hold it there at once or it'll explode, remember? So that's why I thought there's a couple of data points. I mentioned this in my first video. It's going to be impossible for me to cover everything that I'm aware of. Everything that we're all aware of. It's like how many data points that are connected to other data points that represent all the data points that represent everything that is happening simultaneously in the entire cosmos that we're aware of. Remember I talked about filling up all the bookshelves with all the books? You'd have to read all those books. That's a lot of data. That's why when you are experiencing, wherever you happen to be at any one single point in energy, because I don't think about time. I think about the experience. The experience is communicating to me the energy that I'm experiencing, which is the speed of the wave, which is perception, which can be translated in density consciousness. Remember I mentioned about in childhood, I don't like this density. I want to go home. I don't want to go home. I'm not comfortable in heavy density. Get your speed up. Get rid of everything you're hanging on to. I don't want no memory. I don't want to be in memory. I want to constantly be in no memory. So I am manifesting holographically and geometrically the things that I'm experiencing that unfold like that. See? So that's why when I was a child, when they sent me to a child psychologist because they couldn't figure out, why is this kid getting A's in some classes and D's in other? It can't be a capability thing. It can't be an intelligent thing. What's going on with this child? Why is he not doing A's? Did it ever occur to them maybe he's just not interested in that subject? He'd rather be out doing other things that drive his passion? You see, they don't want to look at themselves in the very system in which they impart on children, okay, that is programming. So I remember that I had a child psychologist giving me an ink blot test. That's a flat plane, isn't it? With something that has shape to it, but it doesn't have any depth. So then they began saying, okay, when you see this shape, and by the way, it just happens to be black on white, okay? Pirates of the Caribbean, skull and bones, black and white. So I began explaining to them, well, I'm seeing a bunch of trees and all these beautiful things, which means I'm sharing with them the greater depth of the hyperdimensionality in which geometric space unfolds to produce what it is that we experience, because we're artists, creator beings. We have creative imagination. So the perception through which we perceive our cosmos is infinite. So that means there's got to be a lot of space that we can utilize and make it so that we can experience it that way. So we unfold it geometrically, holographically, in a bidirectional echo chamber or mirror. So we're experiencing what it is we're manifesting that comes back to us that we experience on the visible light spectrum. Okay? So even though I close my eyes, I'm still seeing moving pictures. And I can see moving pictures that aren't the picture in front of me when I open my eyes, which is what I always used to call two live streams. You know, the third eye and the other eyes, the pupils. So there was a couple of things I wanted to mention that were very important tie-ins, because I mentioned pH, okay, and the importance of pH and speed of the vibration. So I think I mentioned in a previous video about alcohol. That's why they have spirits. When you see the sign out on liquor stores, they're selling spirits. What they're essentially saying is, listen, give us money, give us electrons, we're going to put you in an acidic state of mind, now you can experience a demon. Okay? I know, because I went through that. Okay? I suffered an incredible amount of emotional pain when I lost my son when he was 3 years of age. So I went insane. How's that possible? Okay? So I decided to go into being more insane by doing something that didn't serve me, which is to drink alcohol. So now I begin to realize, hey, I'm doing things that don't serve me. This is self-sabotage. Why would I do that to myself? And you actually begin to realize that you think that you're sane. I can't start a morning without a drink. I see that around me every morning. Okay? You actually begin to believe that what you think is true is true. That's a demon that is actually communicating with you what it is that you experience, which is what it is to feed on you. So you will begin to do things to keep yourself in an acidic state of mind. And when you're in an acidic state of mind, that's lower density. So what ends up happening is you're essentially self-terminating yourself, which leads to cirrhosis of the liver, pancreatitis, etc. And I had acute pancreatitis. I wasn't supposed to survive that. I ended up in an emergency room at San Bernardino County General Hospital. When was this? Well, it was about a year after I lost my son, and curled up like a ball in the emergency room. And it's just like, just put a gun to my head and end it, will you? Okay? And so I had acute pancreatitis. And according to the doctors, only 1 out of 100 people are ever supposed to survive that. So after 2.5 days, they came back into me and they said, somebody's looking out for you. we were ready to tag and bag you. Somehow or other you survived that. How the hell did you do that? So the insanity of that is that the day that I got out of that hospital, what do you think I went to go do? I went and drank again. An acidic state of mind is self-termination. Now we're back into Wim Hof, right? The speed of the vibration, the speed of the perception, the unfolding of the geometry holographically. So it was about a year and a half later, I finally got on my hands and knees and I surrendered to me. I said, that's enough. So, of course, I didn't realize until 2016 I actually wrote that into my timeline. Because, when you're a student and a teacher and you choose to experience things in order to show how these things work, how else are you going to learn how it works unless to experience it directly? Which means that you know that you're going to survive it. And I did. I don't recommend it, obviously, okay? But it basically means you're willing to duke it out with a demon. See which is more powerful. So anyway, and this relates directly to pH. Okay? So when the cells, the interstitial fluid in the cells are alkaline, they're happy and joyful. Which means now the cells are replicating at a very high rate of speed. And as I remember, if my memory serves me correct, minus 25 millivolts. So you realize, yeah, you're an electrical unit. So when you're running on a lot of electrons and you're getting the electricity that all your cells need, running at high speed, then you're experiencing an enormous amount of heat. Vibrational speed. And that raises the vibration of the perception. Because now you begin to realize, man, I'm aware of a lot more things. You become very sensitive. You're experiencing all the energy around you. So now you're, as I call it, a ham radio set, a sound receiver and a sound transmitter. You're backing up and running again. As it was designed. As an analog avatar. At least mine is. But because I'm familiar with all the, what are known as my labs, which were military, industrial, ET labs, of all the Frankenstein genetic experiments that they were running here on this planet, down in their underground tunnel systems and labs that they were running, notwithstanding all the stuff they do in all their genetic labs in their schools, like UCI, Baylor University. If you go to the NCBI, which is National Center for Biotechnology Information, you can see, for example, why they have time clocks in DNA, Ascension, sequencing. Time clocks are built in. So it's like, hey, this is a temporary unit. Yeah, it's a temporary unit. She gave us temporary units in order to be teachers and students in this classroom. So they're designed for a certain period of time in which students evolve over time based on the lessons that they learn, based on just like any school you go to. Hey, this is one semester. It starts in September or August, and it goes until Christmas, and then you start up another semester, and you're going to school and you learn. And then you're given grades. Okay? So you're advancing your coursework. You're advancing your knowledge. But there is obviously a big difference between their schools and the schools that the cosmos sets up, which is this planet ship, which is a classroom. So when you're learning through her, what we measure is the speed of the learning. And that can be measured by pH and how much light you're attracting. Whether you're living in an acidic state of mind or whether or not your cells are operating in an alkaline environment. So that means that the communication platform that you're using is healthy, happy, and joyful. That allows your spirit that is in the unit to go, yeah, I love this. Now you're celebrating life with love. And when everybody is celebrating life with love, you're free to be who you are. Now you're autonomous. Nothing's holding your consciousness or your physical body captive. So there's no need for prisons. There's no need for jails. Matter of fact, there's no need for a political system. The very idea that somebody else trying to tell you how to live your life is like, what? That means they're using their energy to hold your energy captive. What's the matter with you? Haven't you learned how energy works? No, they didn't. That's the purpose of this classroom. That's why they were labeled or classified, because we love to label things, right, as second law nations, corpus juris secundum. And then you had first law nations. Those are the clans and the tribes. This unit is White Bear Clan, AB positive bloodline, and I have a clan mother, and her name is Karen Ann Luke McDonald. That means when you go all the way back to the female mitochondria, to the first mother, okay, you'll find that the DNA that we run has got goddess stuff, goddess DNA, Gaia. So that's why it's easy for me when I came out of the room to immediately be drawn to her magnet. I'm with you, baby. Okay? She became my healing, my spiritual sanctuary, my spiritual teacher, my spiritual mother. Okay? I know who gave me this thing. Okay? So I'm always thanking her every day for everything she gives us. Just like that sun up there. That's free energy. So you're learning through the higher perception of the higher density consciousness that are the teachers that are here on this planet. So wanted to make sure that I covered that along with, how do I put this, resources. Because I realized that, when was it, 2014, you're prompted to do certain things, because essentially with me, it's like you know your timeline. And so I realized that things were going to begin to accelerate, because when I begin seeing photographs or video of a battle star that came in here, for example, okay, that is using its consciousness, excuse me, to focus an enormous amount of magnetic light amplification on a target, which happened to be in Antarctica, which was the Scott Amundsen power generating station for the Nazis, the Draco down there, then I realized it's game over. When you got something that powerful in there, that essentially when you see how large its light body is compared to the sun, you begin to realize the amount of energy that it can use. And then when you see the blue Kachina, which is, my God, this thing is unbelievable, and the amount of energy that it can use, you realize the big bruisers are here. It's over. So then it's like, okay, so when is the ground crew going to start doing what the ground crew does, which means cleaning out all their snake dens, cleaning out the swamp, getting rid of all the demons. So that has been underway systematically ever since then. And that's why when I realized the events, as the energy is speeding up, which means the density of the consciousness is rising, which means a shift is taking place, which means a separation is going to occur between them and us. So that's why you began seeing light workers, light warriors, beginning to put up the information to explain the importance of the time of what we're experiencing here and why the events are occurring at the speed at which they're occurring. So I realized about a year ago, when I had a good friend of mine who's another spiritual teacher, if you will, we both confirmed with each other we're running out of time. We got to reach as many people as we possibly can. But we realize that a lot of these beings just don't want to wake up. They can't wake up. Many are androids, some are cyborgs, some are artificial intelligence. So you're trying to connect with those you know that have a soul, and maybe some of them have been traumatized. Then it becomes a matter of healing, et cetera, which is basically all the above of everything that I put up. So I begin to realize that because your intuition is what you're running on, which is sort of like you're always in now time, but you begin to realize, which means you're forever. You're outside the time stream. So you begin to realize the events that represent lower density consciousness that is running a time clock, okay? The ratio and the speed to which you're comparing what you're experiencing between what you normally experience and what you're aware of that they're experiencing. So that's sort of a ratio difference between different densities of consciousnesses that we're aware of and the rate of speed in which the events are occurring, say, within a time clock, even though we're outside time, so to speak. And so what I'm measuring is the speed in which events are occurring, which means we can sort of calibrate do I put this? A date, although I don't put a date on it, the date at which a shift is actually going to occur, which means all of a sudden my reality changes significantly, which means, hey, they're gone. Okay? So that now everywhere I go, I'm experiencing what it is I'm manifesting holographically, and I'm experiencing like I did at one time that I mentioned when I was in San Francisco when I was around 16 years of age, and I thought, this is it, we're going to do it, this is when we're going to raise the veil, which is to push through the 55 harmonic, this is it, we're all here, we came in, we're going to raise the light. With a girl on the planet, let's do it, let's go, 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 right? Get the magnetic light up, let's go, we're going to fill the ley lines up. Which means wherever we go, we're not experiencing anything less than what love is. Nobody's suffering, nobody's pain, nobody's traumatized, there are no predators. Everyone's autonomous, we're going home. Okay, I thought that was when it was going to occur. Then I realized that's when the vice came down. Okay, that's when it went the other way. That's when all the programming really began to kick in, and that's when I realized, when I think of generational stuff from one generation to the next generation to the next generation, that you began to realize that the increase in parasites becoming dependent on others. In other words, these are not lighthouses. That was the whole purpose of the breeding with the hybrids. Okay, which was for more light workers to experience more demons, or if you will, hybrids, which means they're running lower frequency, which means they can't get their energy up. Okay? So these become dependent beings. Remember I talked about reprogramming, how you can program something? In other words, it operates on its normal function, which means it knows where to find energy in order to sustain what it's aware of, which is itself. So if it say, hey, listen, we can reprogram this unit, how do we do that? Get it to come to us, and now it's dependent on us. Now that it's dependent on us, it's no longer an energy producer. It's what? A parasite. So they reproduced, over a given period of geospace time, if you want to think of it that way, more parasites feeding on us. Okay? So when you have more parasites feeding on us, you begin to realize that they're going to use them against us to drain all the light, which was to basically put out all biological life out on the planet. That's why they're universe killers. So more light has to come in here at a very critical time in which they did. She wasn't going to rewind the clock again to try and get a better timeline, which is timeline 0. So we secured timeline 0. Everything's right on schedule. And that's why I began thinking to myself, why I do these things right now is because as we go forward in time, the events will accelerate, and that means that we're running out of time. So when I said that a year ago with a lady who's a good friend of mine, we're really running out of time. Okay? Which means, for me, I sort of pegged it within anywhere between now and the next 6 months to 9 months. But then you got beings, how do I put this? A lot of different beings that are here that simply will not be able to shift. Naturally, we want to be able to take everybody up there that's able to do that. But I'm also cognizant of the fact of all the different beings that are here where that just can't happen because of the nature of who they are. So I know the word came to me that some are going to get moved to other classrooms, to be given more time in which to get their density consciousness up, which means they can maintain the speed of who they are, which means you've learned how to master your energy just like Wim Hof did, just like light workers do. Okay? So that's the purpose of the classroom. So this is all the work that everybody's got to do. I can't do it for anybody because that's not who I am. It's the inner work that all of us do within ourselves to be able to learn how to do that. That's the purpose of a classroom, is to learn through the right teachers, like the girl in the classroom, how she does what she does, how life unfolds with love. Go look at a snail. Go look at a seashell. Go look at how everything works in nature. And when you become sensitive and you can experience the energies in nature, you're experiencing essentially the high vibrational speed in which she's managing everything in nature to be in peace, harmony, and balance with nature. You know, that's why there is a balance, a scale, and how the energy works here to maintain a living biosphere, which are living energies, which is living water, okay? Everything that is all the living energies that we experience through the living energies. Those become our teachers because we become aware of the living energy we are that is communicating with the living energies that are in the planet. That's the evolution of the cosmos. Now you're a part of everything that is. Wow. Yeah. You're in the fabric. You are the fabric. The universe is within you. So you're just as much a singularity, which is 0 point, as everything else is. It goes on forever because we are what love is in living spirit. Right? So that's simple stuff. That's why I work with children. They're easy. Okay? Trying to work with somebody who's spent 30 years of their life believing everything that they believe that they give energy to, and that becomes a reality. Trying to undo something like that, particularly when you realize, well, that's your free will to experience that. I'm not going to impose my will on you, but what I will do is share with you the difference between what that is and what we are. And if we're able to do that and you want a part of what that is, we will share with you and show you how to do it. Because we experienced how to do it, which is experiencing the living energies we are that we share with you, which is what love is. Okay? We love our cosmos, which means I love what I am because I love the energy that represents what I am experiencing. Right? Yeah.